As with any group of foods, not all fats are created equal. There are some types of fat you should be eating more of, and some you should be limiting or avoiding altogether. Because believe it or not, even though I am a huge advocate for high-fat diets, if you're consuming too much of the wrong type of fat, this can hinder your results. And the type of fat you want to be consuming more of might surprise you. Fatty acids can be divided into two main categories: saturated and unsaturated. Saturated fat has all of its carbons bonded to hydrogens, and unsaturated fat is missing some hydrogens. Now, because saturated fats are straight, this means they can pack together more tightly, which is why they are solid at room temperature. Examples of food with mainly saturated fat that are good for you include butter, coconut oil, and dark chocolate. Like I said, these are all solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are slightly bent, meaning they can't pack together as tightly, and this is why they are liquid at room temperature. Examples of food high in unsaturated fat that are good for you are olive oil, avocados, and eggs. Now, most foods that are made up of fat contain some combination of both saturated and unsaturated. For example, butter is 66% saturated and 34% unsaturated. Now, unsaturated fat can be broken down further into two categories: monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. Mono has only one carbon missing a hydrogen bond, and poly has more than 4. And here's why this is important. The more hydrogens that are missing, the more fragile the fat is. This means it is more likely to oxidize when it is exposed to heat, light, and oxygen. Oxidized fats are extremely harmful to the body. When we consume them, they cause free radical damage and oxidative stress. They start damaging our DNA, our fatty tissues, and our proteins. Oxidative stress can also cause heart disease, hypertension, hardening of the arteries, neurodegenerative diseases, cancers, and also accelerate aging. You can also be exposed to free radicals through pesticides, through cigarette smoke, through pollution. Everyone knows how harmful these things are for the body, but consuming oxidized fats can cause the same damage. Now, as I said before, monounsaturated is only missing 1 hydrogen, and polyunsaturated is missing more than 4. This means that polyunsaturated fats are the most susceptible to oxidation. Now, this isn't a huge concern when you are getting this type of fat from whole food sources. It's more stable when we consume it that way. So these are things such as salmon and nuts. However, if you are cooking with oils high in polyunsaturated fat, that's when it's extremely dangerous. Oils high in these fats are so fragile. They oxidize when they're exposed to any heat, light, or oxygen. And unfortunately, a lot of the oils that are typically recommended for cooking and recommended as healthy alternatives to saturated fat are high in polyunsaturated. These are things such as soybean oil, corn oil, and grapeseed oil. And I just want to point out that just because the smoke point of an oil is high does not mean that's the same as the point at which it oxidizes. Oils that are high in polyunsaturated fat should never be used for cooking and not be consumed at all if possible. But foods high in polyunsaturated fat, those are good. I'm sure everyone has heard of omega-6s and omega-3s before. These are both types of polyunsaturated fat. Omega-3 is widely known as the anti-inflammatory one, and omega-6 is inflammatory. However, both are essential. But most people are consuming far too much omega-6, which works against omega-3 and causes inflammation. Most people need to be eating less omega-6 and more omega-3. The best sources of omega-3 are seafood, including cold water oily fish such as salmon. But the issue that we see with most salmon at the shops, especially here in Australia, is it's all farmed. And this is very different from wild-caught salmon. Not only does it contain less omega-3 and more omega-6, but it is also filled with toxins. Farmed salmon is 8 times higher in polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, which are highly toxic industrial compounds. Babies and children who are exposed to PCBs for prolonged periods of time suffer developmental and neurological problems, and these compounds are harmful to adults as well. The reason that farmed salmon are higher in these compounds is because of the environments they're raised in. It is well known that these fish farms are unsanitary and overcapacitated. Other types of animal agriculture, such as with cattle, are more heavily regulated in terms of the treatment of the animal. But there is a lot less regulation when it comes to fish. Wild salmon, on the other hand, is very low in PCBs. Now, if you're looking for a place in Australia to buy wild salmon, I personally rely on ButcherCrowd. ButcherCrowd is a meat delivery service that brings 100% grass-fed and finished beef and lamb, pasture-raised chicken and pork, and wild-caught seafood straight to your door. They have a wide range of boxes to choose from, and they also offer the option to build your own. And of course, one of their curated boxes is the 100% wild salmon box. Or if you don't want a whole box of it, you can add salmon to a custom box or to another curated box. I absolutely love ButcherCrowd. Their products are top notch. And with the option to cancel, pause, or change your subscription at any time, there's no reason not to give them a try. You can head to healthcoachkait.com/ButcherCrowd to check them out, and make sure to use code KATE15 at checkout to save 15% off your order. And if you try the salmon, let me know. And when I tell you the salmon is so much better than farmed, you're gonna have a really hard time going back. I mean it. Now, before we wrap up, I want to talk a little bit more about saturated fat, which I know a lot of people are scared of. There are several claims about saturated fat that we have had drilled into our minds, that it clogs our arteries, that it causes heart disease, that it causes diabetes. None of these are true. None of these have been proven in the literature. The thinking behind the theory that saturated fat clogs our arteries is simply that because it's solid at room temperature, it would do the same thing in our bodies. But it's not that simple. This is just a theory, and the reality is this doesn't happen. Saturated fat is good for us. It is essential for our energy, our hormones, and the tissues in our body that it makes up. It's the best type of fat to use for cooking because it is very stable. It is the opposite of polyunsaturated fat. It also raises HDL levels in the body, which are the protective type of cholesterol. And there are certain types of saturated fat that have been shown to be extra beneficial, one of which is stearic acid. This type of fat has been shown to be associated with accelerated weight loss and accelerated visceral fat weight loss in particular. Stearic acid is found in the fat of meat, animal fat used for cooking such as tallow and butter, and also in some fatty plant foods such as cacao butter. In one study done on mice, where the mice were fed diets enriched with either stearic acid, which is a saturated fat, linoleic acid, which is a polyunsaturated fat, or oleic acid, which is a monounsaturated fat, they didn't see much difference in the total body weight between the groups at the end of the study. However, the stearic acid group saw a 70% reduction in visceral fat and an increase in lean body mass when compared to the other groups. Now, this is a study done in mice, but it's very interesting nonetheless. So swapping your cooking oil for one that's high in stearic acid, such as tallow, coconut oil, or butter, can help you to get more stearic acid into your diet. So in summary, saturated fat is good. You shouldn't fear it. Monounsaturated fat is also good. I think most people know that. But when it comes to polyunsaturated fat, don't use it for cooking. Get your polyunsaturated fat through whole foods instead. And try to focus more on omega-3s than omega-6s. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comment section down below what your favorite high-fat food is. Is there anything we talked about today which you didn't know before? Let me know down below. I love chatting with you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye.